Hi, Joe, KF7MIX here to introduce a small program called JS8 Call Spotter, companion program for JS8 Call. I assume if you're watching this, you know what JS8 Call is. Let me just start real quick by showing you the only setting that you'll need to worry about for JS8Spotter to work, and that is in JS8 Call Settings under Reporting. You just want to make sure you have API turned on and enable TCP turned on, enable and accept. So if you've got this check mark, this one, and this one here, you should be good. You can leave all these numbers default. So JS8 Call, right now the band's pretty quiet. Always seems to be when I want to make a video, but at times when the band is busy, it can get a little overwhelming with all the information that's passing here on the left in the message activity pane and the activity that's happening on the right in the call sign activity pane. So it's pretty easy to miss things, and if you happen to leave your station running like I tend to, it's very easy to miss things because things go in and out of here, and even though you can set things to not expire, oftentimes they will. So the concept here was that we needed a way to keep track of what was happening, and that's where JS8Spotter comes in. I'll go ahead and start up that program and show you how it works. You of course want to have JS8 Call running first and then start up JS8Spotter. It'll start you out. This is the default database with nothing in it. It starts me with one profile called default, which I'm going to start adding search terms to. When search terms are seen in the message activity, which is also passed to this program, they'll show up in the matched activity section. So I'm just going to add some based on what's going on here. First of all, let's rename this profile. Call it testing, so it matches a little more what we're actually trying to accomplish. We're just going to try to grab a whole bunch of things like heartbeats and people calling CQ, anyone looking for messages or sending messages even. Put in my call sign. Actually, I'll just put in part of my call sign, KF7. So, all right, we got some activity going on in JS8 Call in the activity message activity section. So you see up here where there's these heartbeats coming back. Well, we put in the word heart and we're keeping track of it. So matched activity is showing up here on the right. Now I can double click on my search term and look at all of the activity for it, split up into these three parts: RX.ACTIVITY, RX.DIRECTED, and RX.SPOT, which are different types of activity that JS8 Call reports from the API. Or I can just look here on the right. I can also double click on individual items and look at the activity. If it was a message or something else, I could read the whole thing there. So in a nutshell, that's what this program does. It lets you create profiles, add search terms, and keep track of them. Now the reason it was created was for people that are running nets in JS8 Call. If you have a list of known participants in your net, you could add them to a profile, and then you could kind of keep track here under last seen and under the traffic. After your net's finished, you can fill in, figure out a report from that, or during the net, you can maybe catch people that you didn't see if the band was busy, which it, obviously can get when there's a net going on. So you can see that there's different ways to do this. I'm going to go ahead and make a new profile. I'm going to make a couple new ones, and we'll try a few different things. Let's just make one called net. That's kind of boring. So we're making a fake profile called net here. Now, I could add search terms individually like you saw me do already. I'm going to go ahead and hit import, and let's just make up some call signs. Let's put mine in there. And just some fake ones. Okay. I'm going to hit add batch. I could also copy paste those, or I could export those if I wanted to share those with someone else and they wanted, if you had a net and you had a group of participants who wanted to all use the software, you could share that with people, and you could hit save as here or copy it out and put it in an email, and then they could import it as well. So obviously those ones are all fake, but we could also put our group name as a search term so that when I was running my net, I could obviously keep track of those. I'm going to go over to testing, and you see I've turned on this checkmark background scan. All that means is that if I'm overlooking at net here, this other one's still gathering data while I'm looking at it. That means it'll scan while in the background. Other uses, for example, we had some recent stuff with Tonga where no one could get a hold of Tonga. Let's make a profile called Tonga. And you could leave this running overnight, for example. And you could add in, I think their grid location was AG28, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, you could add in their grid location, or if you had ham operators in that area that you knew, you could put in their call sign. You could also look just for the word Tonga. And you could turn on background scan. So you could use it to scan for any type of traffic that you wanted. Got some more test activity here. You see this says matched activity last 100, so this would scroll down to 100 entries. If you hit export log, that would actually show you all the entries that you have. They're tab delimited, so you can copy them straight to a spreadsheet, or you can hit save as and save them that way as well. So you can work with your data. You can also hit clear log, and that will empty these out. And obviously you can add or remove those, delete those. Pretty straightforward software. You get search terms, you got matched activity. It lets you keep track of what's going on. I often will have in my actual database, a profile called contacts, where I'll put in the call signs of people that I know, and then I can see when my friends have been on. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do. Another one was, there was a gentleman recently, actually let's add this, he was working on worked all EMs. So in my database I create a profile for him, and I think that was KL7R. If you're an EM and you know you've seen his name on there, look for him. He's working on that. So I actually built one. He said he couldn't find a certain EM, so I added it and looked for, I could keep track of hams in that area that, he could leave this running overnight and scan for people that he needs. He could add in all the EMs that he's still missing. I don't know what they are, but let's just make some up. Oops, messed that one up. Actually, it'd probably be easier to do it this way. So, if you're working on some sort of a digital contest, you could use it for that as well. Lots of different little uses. I imagine people that are doing JS8 chess could use it, or people that just want to keep track of information from JS8 Call. So a real straightforward program. Everything is stored in a database. So let me show you how that works as well. But last things in here, I showed you activity. I showed you how you can double click on it. You can double click on all the items to look at the details for that activity. You can add and remove any keywords, search terms that you want. You can add and remove profiles. There is hide heartbeats. So as this list gets longer and longer, and you're not necessarily looking for heartbeats. Let's say you're on your list of worked all EMs, or actually on your net. You might not want to see all that heartbeat traffic, so you can actually turn that off in the view menu. We have nothing but that right now because we haven't gathered anything, but that's something you can toggle so that you can see your other activity a little easier. There's also a dark theme, depending on what you want to look at, what you want on your screen. So that's JS8Spotter in a nutshell. Just helps you keep track of things that are important to you from JS8 Call. Real straightforward. So let me just show you the database real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. It's an SQLite database, so you can use a program like SQLiteStudio if you want, and you can go in and actually get your data out that way as well. Lots of different ways to work with your data, and whatever you want to gather, however you want to work with it, you've got options. So real straightforward program. It's called JS8Spotter. And I hope it comes in useful for someone other than me. Good luck.